I'm here today to share a personal story that also relates to AF4Q. During the summer of 2013, I had truly reached a pinnacle in my life. My job was going well, my wife was almost 9 months pregnant, and we had recently just closed on our first house. 2 days after we closed on the house, I took the Friday off of work to start moving in. My wife was downstairs. I go down my apartment stairs to meet her, and in my excitement, I missed the bottom stair, and I lunged forward, and I put my entire right hand through a glass window at the bottom of the stairs. Immediately, blood was spraying everywhere. I grabbed my wrist and started yelling for help. My wife scrambled upstairs and grabbed a belt and secured it to my arm. The ambulance arrived 5 minutes later, and the EMTs replaced the belt with a military-grade tourniquet and wrote the time down on my arm. After 6.5 hours of surgery, I woke up and I looked at my wrist in shock, and I looked at my surgeon and I asked, "What happened?" And my surgeon said, "Well, the good news is we made a full repair. We repaired 8 tendons, your medial nerve, and an artery." Feeling a little bit relieved, I then asked, "Will I be able to make a full recovery?" And apparently this was the bad news that she was planning to share. Her body language changed, and she looked down and went into a long-winded answer about how patients with similar wrist lacerations often experience limited function, as well as repaired nerves are difficult to predict. At this point, I started crying, and the good news about a full repair was completely gone. I lost it emotionally, and for that moment, I cried for a long time. And that scene of me crying carried on about 2 or 3 more times during my follow-up appointments. So then, at my 6-month follow-up appointment, which about a year ago to this day, I go into my doctor and I was nervous, and I was thinking to myself, I want to tell her something that I'd been thinking about a lot during my recovery. And so I turn to her and I say, "Thank you for fixing my wrist. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to return to my normal life, but now I believe that can happen." And then I took a deep breath and I said, "However, I'm very disappointed at how you and your surgeons, you and your team were to deal with how emotional and fragile I was in the weeks after the surgery. And I believe patients like myself deserve more emotional support." And she looked at me and then I said, "In fact, the mental anguish after my surgery was far more difficult than any of the countless hours of physical therapy that I endured." And she looked at me, she was a little taken back, and she released a deep breath, and she said, "Nate, you caught us all off guard. And you're right, we weren't prepared for how you reacted." And then 3 months later, I go to my 9-month appointment, and I'm sitting in the surgeon's office, and she says, "Nate, I talked to my colleagues, and they agreed. You're right. Patients who go through severe accidents deserve more emotional support. And in fact, we're going to work on ways to build that into our treatment program." So I looked at her and I started tearing up a little bit, and she was probably thinking, "Is he seriously going to cry again?" But luckily, I held back the tears, and I gave her a huge smile, and I thanked her. And I kept that smile on my face all day. I was so proud of myself. I was so proud of my surgeon for listening and doing something about it. Prior to this accident, I believed patient engagement was important. However, I didn't realize the true impact it could have on improving quality. I've learned that having the courage to give feedback, combined with the provider's willingness to listen and act, can result in significant improvements in health. This is profound because it means that improving quality does not require medical or technological breakthroughs. This is the impact that AF4Q has had on me, as well as other communities. And perhaps the greatest breakthrough I've had was being able to do this a year after the surgery. This was taken last summer. It's not a 10-foot rim, in case you were... Going forward, I believe patients and providers need to discover what AF4Q, what the foundation discovered long ago when they started AF4Q, that the relationship between a patient and a provider is a missing piece, an untapped resource, which, if utilized more often, can lead to significant improvements in health and healthcare. I also believe that the best healthcare systems in the future will embrace patient feedback. And incorporate it into their quality improvement systems. Thank you.